Hello, it is July 19th and it is 8:35 a.m. Basically, today I'm going to be talking about how, the June 24th, 2026 Brain Savant test was overanalyzed. The reason it was overanalyzed was due to the extreme envy of a few people. After it was overanalyzed, we found out that I had been telling the truth all along, and that obviously law enforcement had already confessed that throughout my entire time I was in my overseas pharmacy school, not only was my Brain Savant locked, but that in the last biochem exam, law enforcement used so much extreme amnesia drugs on the air drug that I couldn't even remember how to spell my own name. And law enforcement also confessed in court that they did this multiple times in multiple different exams while I was in my overseas pharmacy school. But the people from my overseas pharmacy school that are working with the person who made the group chat false testimony against me, they were enviously claiming that my Brain Savant doesn't exist and this and that, due to which they overanalyzed it, and now they found out that everything I said was absolutely true, that I do have the capabilities of doing around 1,000 pages of something extremely dry like Arenball's medicinal chemistry in less than a day's time, making it, and that I also have innovation tested a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025, due to which me claiming that I could do zero tolerance coffee in 30 days time is nothing. It's not something that it can be argued against, especially by law enforcement who cannot get themselves to stare into reality for 30 minutes with a simple 30-minute Brain Savant test, even if I would challenge them and take them over to Moscow, Russia, or anything else. So people who can't stare at reality for 30 minutes do not have the right to argue whether it's going to take me 30 days or 100 days to do so. My dad, the Greedy Framer, has been using sympathy on me all day today. Nowhere Special and all these movies about some dad dying and this and that. It's not going to work on me. He's also been blackmailing me with price tags of money after he's been caught enviously trying to lock up my Brain Savant, followed by asking me to give him illegal assurance of money, or asking me to commit incest with his own sisters to give him illegal assurance of money. And Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer spokesperson, has just advertised his own sister for marriage with me yesterday, July 18th. And further, the Greedy Framer has been advertising her two daughters now, not just one, two daughters, for me to marry either one, in a very sexually explicit, disgusting looking picture that I will show. These people cannot claim that they don't believe in my Brain Savant, humiliating themselves and embarrassing themselves in front of the entire world, where my dad, the Greedy Framer, was told February 11th at 3:17 a.m. that this is an open advertisement for incest when you send your pictures, when you send a porn star's picture with your sister Farah's name on it, and he still did it 3 times on March 7th, 2026. So, yeah, these people are obviously all over money, and then he started blackmailing with price tags of millions of euros starting July 9th again. Exactly 10 days ago, after claiming that it can't be done and stuff like that, only due to extreme envy. He can argue all he wants, but it's your actions that tell the story, not your words, because his words have been deceptive since day one. He's been lying about everything. He's not a medical doctor. He's never given his board exams. He never went to a university in Ireland. He lied about that as well. He begged his Framer sisters and law enforcement to fabricate November 20th. As soon as he was caught December 29th, he was sending me money transfer ads for RIA. Then he made more lies against me that were already planned out, that the courts knew were already planned out, because the government informant was told. When he was caught with those on February 10th, he started sending me ads for incest with his own big, fat, ugly old sisters for the Greedy Framer at 3:17 a.m. for February 11th, and then his ugly, big, fat, ugly old fart at 3:56 a.m. sisters, Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer spokesperson's mother. Stuff like that. Like, you can't think that this guy is not doing this for money, or that he doesn't believe in my Brain Savant, when the kind of actions that he's showing are extremely disgusting. No one would do for money, sell their own sisters to commit incest for money, if he didn't think that there was money, obviously. So the thing that I have to start off with is the fact that the Brain Savant test for June 24, 2026 was overanalyzed, finding out through facts and evidences that everything I said about me being able to do 1,000 pages of something like a 1,000-page textbook of something like extremely dry, like R involves medicinal chemistry in less than a day's time, should be a walk in the park with someone with my kind of brain savant powers. And it's because of that and due to that I knew yesterday when I saw Ibrahim the Greedy Framer spokesperson's sister being advertised to me that Kelly from law enforcement would definitely start to try to come after me, which I found out was absolutely true. She's been running after me today with the Maison Perrier ad with the girl who's extremely thirsty, basically referring to her, trying to say that she's thirsty as in for sex. If you're so thirsty for sex, then why do you not run after Ibrahim the Greedy Framer spokesperson? Why don't you go after him? She's not going to do that. Or Junaid or anyone else. No thirst for those people. She wants thirst. She's got thirst for me because she knows that there's money involved. So basically today at 8:15 a.m. Kelly from law enforcement sends me this. So you can look at the time. It's July 19, 8:15 a.m. and it's a girl laying on a bed. It says Evenko on it. Okay, that is what Kelly from law enforcement put on big on my look at how big, like the entire TV screen is being covered. It's supposed to be Kelly from law enforcement. Okay, and then you also have this on my YouTube. The time is 8:18 a.m. July 19th, and it is a girl looking extremely angry, and so basically meaning that Kelly from law enforcement is really angry that I'm not going with her, or that I showed the last Maison Perrier thing on YouTube. I couldn't care less, Kelly. Leave me the heck alone. This is not a place to find yourself a husband, okay? So basically, yeah. And so before we move on, though, I gotta show for the Greedy Framer the kind of pictures that she's sending me for her daughter is absolutely insane. No one in their right mind would ever do that. Okay, so Kelly from law enforcement has done this before. This is from July 18th at 12:35 a.m. basically past midnight, 35 minutes past midnight, and this doesn't look anything like her. I've seen her outside the Russian consulate in DC. It doesn't look anything like her, but she basically has her partner send it to me to try to seduce me and try to get me to run after her, basically. Yeah. Yeah, so basically that is what is going on. And so yeah, I was gonna try to find the one that was for the Greedy Framer, but it kind of looks like I can't find it right now. And it was for her daughter, basically, yeah. And she has been basically advertising her daughter to me in a very sexually a very dirty kind of way. It's not just one daughter, but basically two of her daughters. And it's just something that, you know, if you're dressing up like a nun all day, it's not something that nuns would do. Advertise their daughters like that in such a sexually provocative way. I'll show you exactly what I mean. It's not appropriate, first of all. This is July 14th, 8:51 a.m. Okay, this is July 14th at 8:51 a.m. And this one daughter with the blue tight tights, and the other daughter is supposed to be in like the brown. This is the commercial, and this is what it's supposed to be looking like. Yeah, look at the tight tights that she's wearing. Basically, a very sexually provocative way. She's trying to advertise two of her daughters now, Zara and Ifra, and she was also sending me advertisements for Zara again this morning. So she's basically advertising two of her daughters to me now, not just one. So these people are not going to claim that my brain savant doesn't exist, obviously. And it was a known fact that Kelly from law enforcement was going to try and run after me again today. Yeah, I already knew this yesterday because they overanalyzed the brain savant test from June 24th. I know this for a fact because Ibrahim the Greedy Framer spokesperson's sister was being advertised to me. So basically, yeah, that is what was going on. Now, the thing that I have to really talk about is how law enforcement is now that the child story is being put aside due to the fact that children cannot be blamed when law enforcement's done is run sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001, and the other the other adults are people like Assad, whom law enforcement found in crime settings that they covered over, never cared about the wedding crime at all, and then law enforcement's also been running money fraud with them for years and years. So yeah, so basically these are the kinds of things that have been ongoing, so children cannot be blamed in this setting, especially when the mother had already talked to law enforcement, spoken with them when I was an 11-year-old child, made a promise she fulfilled the moment I became mentally mature enough yet in the world. She said on February 15, 8:30 p.m. and during that time period when I would be present there, my mother would not. Clearly showing from facts and evidences that she was at work, which is why she had to leave me behind there. She didn't have anyone else who walked me for free, and it was only told I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child to be left at home alone, like how she said on February 15th at 8:30 p.m. Now, the thing about it is just the fact that the child thing is about to be put aside, and now law enforcement is going to try to use other people, mainly people from overseas, from my overseas pharmacy school. Now, I have to give a little story on how this is being played out. So basically, law enforcement tried to fabricate a false testimony against me. The person in law enforcement who receives the money every single month since 2022 for the unemployment disability fraud being run, basically that person is the person who fabricates false testimonies against me from my overseas pharmacy school. Now, the thing that really happened is he went over to someone from my overseas pharmacy school, and he basically had that person just whispered into his ears and said, look, I'm going to say that you gave me something. You just have to say that you did. And he basically said it to a person named Abdullah in my overseas pharmacy school. And that person basically said, yeah, I'll do that. You just go frame him. And so that person from overseas law enforcement, from overseas, near my overseas pharmacy school, the same person who gets the monthly money every single month since 2022, that law enforcement over here arranged by meeting with, arranging, giving bank account numbers for, contact info for, basically that person gets that money in law enforcement overseas near my overseas pharmacy school, who's basically in charge of fabricating false testimonies against me. Now, he fabricated the group chat false testimony with someone in my pharmacy school named Abdullah. Now, the thing about it is, before we continue on this, the thing that everyone in the court needs to understand is the fact that these people in my overseas pharmacy school might claim something like, oh, Hassan, you knew this person too. So it doesn't matter if we knew him and we were fabricating false testimonies before we passed the torch on to the next person. You knew him too. It's irrelevant if I knew this person or not. What's relevant is one person who's fabricating a false testimony with law enforcement who's fabricating it. The same person in law enforcement who gets the money every month. They're both fabricating a false testimony against me. Then that person in in my overseas pharmacy school, who would be Abdullah, would pass the torch over to Maruk, and Maruk would now make false testimonies against me. She would get caught on July 11th with that person overseas pharmacy school, that person in law enforcement overseas, getting overzealous about the fact that they were caught on July 10th trying to come in my car cameras to try to advertise themselves for these girls. So he goes, and in his haste, he reveals how he was fabricating false testimonies, and Maruk and probably Adamji as well were both caught fabricating a false testimony against me on July 11th. So basically, they're both already caught. Mainly, all three of them are. Abdullah, Maruk, Adamji are all caught. Now, they might try to claim that, oh, you knew this person too, or you knew us too, so that makes it okay for us to make false testimonies against you. It's absolutely irrelevant if I ever talked to someone or did not, when speaking of the fact that they're committing crimes against me by making fabricated false testimonies against me, which was just done on July 11th. They had someone from so the idea of this basically started with law enforcement when their false testimonies were all caught. What they did was, So I grew up in this neighborhood, lived here my entire life. I came here when I was like 9-year-old child, started off with third grade in Padonia Elementary School. Still live at the same place. Just live. I started off with a building right next door, and now I live in this building. Yeah. So I lived here pretty much my entire life since I was a 9-year-old child. So basically, when I was a 10-year-old child, or maybe 11, when 9/11 happened, they took someone from my elementary school when I was a child and had that person claim 25 years later in mid-January 2026 that I said some anti-government things to him when I was a child. And basically that person claimed that I said anti-government things to him when I was a 10 or 11-year-old child, and in mid-January 2026. And obviously my dad, the Greedy Framer, saw that testimony. He's like, perfect. And then when he saw that the person had gotten caught fabricating, he calls the court and starts crying, mainly because he knows he doesn't deserve any of the money from my brain savant, and he can't see my mother or me with that money, obviously. But the thing about this incident is the fact that this person from my overseas, for this person from my elementary school, where I still live at, I still live right near Padonia Elementary. This person from my elementary school, basically, he claimed 25 years later that I said something anti-government to him when I was a 10 or 11-year-old child when 9/11 occurred. This is absolutely insane and ridiculous. If that person that fabricated the false testimony against me started claiming, well, you knew me too when you were 11 years old. It's irrelevant if I knew you or did not know you when I was an 11-year-old child or not. Fact of the matter is, you made fabricated false testimonies against me that were complete and total lies out of extreme envy that my brain savant would get freed. Whether I did or did not know you when I was an 11-year-old child or not, it's irrelevant to this case. It does not change the fact that you committed a crime against me by making fabricated false testimonies against me, and you committed a crime against this court by making these fabricated false testimonies against me. Similarly, if someone from my overseas pharmacy school who have been caught making false testimonies against me tries to narrate even further in my trial by claiming that, oh, Hassan, you knew me. So it's irrelevant if I knew you or not, or if I knew the other person who made the false testimony against me or not. The fact of the matter is, law enforcement basically went to someone from my overseas pharmacy school named Abdullah, and they made a false testimony against me with him, known as the group chat false testimony. Basically due to the fact that Abdullah would call these girls over here who were told about my brain savant, not by me, but by law enforcement, who told these girls about my brain savant months before I ever told anyone about. It was my lottery ticket. I would not tell anyone about it. I did not tell a single soul about it till August 25th, 2023. These people, with Ms. Deb being a prime example, were told about it mid-June 2023, when I had not even whispered into anyone's ears about my brain savant that I just found out about on August 9, 2022. Why did I not do this? Simple. Money predators. People that are predators for money that lottery ticket winners would know about. You never want to tell anyone about your lottery ticket till you cash it out. I had no reason to tell anyone till I was able to use my brain savant, which I thought was accidentally locked up by law enforcement who were unaware of what they were locking up inside my brain, only for me to find out that there was a brain scanner, due to which law enforcement knew about it probably years before I found out on August 9, 2022. And yeah, by 2023, everyone in the world knew about it. Everyone in town knew about it before I even told anyone. I told the first person after I won my case, August 25th, 2023. Obviously, I said to law enforcement, I have a brain savant. I'm a triple savant. And I know you know, and I know that's the reason you have all these locks around my head. And basically, I said, I want to study now. And to that, law enforcement tried to frame me for a wedding incident. And I just said, thank you for letting me know about a crime you committed, because I was never there at this wedding, or else I would know about a crime being committed there. Now, the thing about it is, it's just the fact that law enforcement basically started off with someone named Abdullah at my overseas pharmacy school. Now, he would call these girls over here in the U.S., and he would try to convince them all day and night long that my brain savant didn't exist. The girl would go over to law enforcement, and law enforcement would show her artificial intelligence reports on all the tests done on my brain savant, to which she would say that, no, actually, I think I trust artificial intelligence on this. Due to which, what he ended up doing was he ended up making a fully fabricated false testimony against me, claiming that I gave him some sort of a group chat that I had, which obviously was false, since I was being watched the entire time and being abused by my stepmother the entire time I was in overseas pharmacy school. So basically that occurred. And then after that, he gets caught. And the person in law enforcement who gets the money every single month is the one who fabricated it, obviously, because he knows that I'm after his money, and I was telling the government about it over and over again. And yeah, so basically, yeah. So then that person in law enforcement tells Abdullah, he says, well, tell me another person I could go to. And he sends the person in law enforcement over to Maruk. There is absolutely no incident of me ever talking to Maruk, either on the phone, through text messaging, or in person, ever, despite me being watched 24/7, and Maruk gives a false testimony against me. It was proven on July 11th, only 8 days ago, when what happened was July 10th, law enforcement was doing the exact same thing. So around 7 p.m., Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer spokesperson, who's a drug addict, gets rejected by one of my elementary school teachers he was running after. After he gets rejected by her, what happens is Junaid tries to, when I'm going to pick up my mother, he tries to come in my car cameras around 8 p.m., July 10th, to advertise himself. And I knew they were doing this because they tried to do this with Uncle Joey for years, as the man who's related to the guy with the triple savant that law enforcement told everyone about. And then they wanted to advertise Uncle Joey to all these women, and they weren't able to, and they boiled up with anger after Uncle Joey was forced to go back to Michigan a couple times. My mother told me as a child to not go near him, and I never did. Till this day, I haven't. So basically, I knew this trick. Law enforcement had been playing it for years. They put someone near me to advertise them, especially if I have a car camera in my car. And so that person that they put was Junaid first at 8 p.m. on July 10th, told him at the exact moment to get out of his house so that he could come in my car camera. And then at 8:45, they put Ibrahim, Greedy Framer spokesperson, for coming out of the Mother's Grill, ironically, running after a woman his mother's age, getting rejected at around 7 p.m., to do that thing, to do the same thing, advertising himself, basically. Yeah. So this is what was going on. So July 11th, what happened was the person in law enforcement overseas who gets the money every month says, I'm not going to let this go. And in his haste to try to fabricate a false testimony against me, he went over to Maruk and Adamji on July 11th, 2026, only 8 days ago, and he basically spoon-fed them another false testimony for them to say and claim about me, degrading, humiliating things meant to degrade me, humiliate me, look like a sexually perverted person, look like a drug addict, look like an alcoholic, look like everything bad that anyone could ever say about someone. Every single thing that Maruk and Adamji said on July 11th have been found to be completely false, fabricated, spoon-fed to them by this person in law enforcement overseas who gets the money every month. They have been caught red-handed on July 11th of fabricating a false testimony against me. Completely caught. Every single thing that they said on July 11th was meant to degrade me, humiliate me, make up stories about me that weren't true, exaggerated, make me look like a drug addict, alcoholic, a bad person, and basically someone lacking IQ and things of that sort of nature. Basically, what happened is Maruk and Adamji were claiming all these things about me. Now, the thing about it is, the thing that I have to let everyone know about is the fact that law enforcement basically has no one that can narrate in a trial and say that I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, and that I'm a very stupid person in the U.S. Why is that? Because every single person in the U.S. is running after me, either in terms of money or something else. So my dad, the Greedy Framer, cannot either, because he's blackmailing me with price tags of money all day, night long, putting sympathy, gaining videos like Nowhere Special on my TV screen, and trying to run after me all day, night long, while trying to narrate in the trial against me, only to try to lock up my brain savant out of extreme envy of my mother getting the money. And while at the same time he is trying to send me blackmail price tags to try to get me to give him illegal assurances of money. So he's not going to claim that he doesn't think that there's a brain savant. The courts are going to be like, Sir, you've been lying since day one. November 20th, 2025, subsequent lies that were all planned out, the subsequent lies that required phone conversations to be retrieved. And now you're claiming that the brain savant doesn't exist. You don't think even there, he doesn't have the potential of making millions of dollars. And yet, at the same time, you're begging law enforcement to send him all these sympathy videos while begging the courts to narrate against him, clearly showing two different faces. And at the same time, you're claiming to the courts that the brain savant doesn't exist or doesn't have any potential for money, but at the same time you're begging law enforcement to send him blackmail price tags for millions of euros, clearly showing two different faces again, showing that you are basically lying somehow again and again, and what you're saying doesn't make any sense. So my dad, the greedy framer, cannot claim that my brain savant doesn't exist or doesn't have monetary potential. Fur, the greedy framer, cannot claim this, since Fur, the greedy framer, is not advertising one daughter, but two daughters to me. And I showed you the sexually explicit picture that she has advertising her daughters to me. Absolutely disgusting is what it is. No one should ever do this with their daughter, sending these sexually explicit pictures to someone of their daughter like this. Two daughters, basically. Complete and total psychopath is what this woman is. Let me show you this. 8:51 a.m. Date is July 14, 2026. 8:51 a.m. Look at that. Two different. One of them is the blue, just showing off her entire body, sexually explicit. The other one is supposed to be, I guess, I don't know. They're supposed to be Zara and Ifra, her two daughters, that she's advertising, and I have absolutely no interest in either one. Yeah, this is ongoing every single day. Even this morning, I got an advertisement for Zara again. I have to put that in the journal again. So Farah, the greedy framer, is not going to claim that she doesn't think that my brain savant has any monetary potential. My dad cannot claim this. Ibrahim, the greedy framer spokesperson, cannot claim this, since he was advertising his sister to me yesterday, July 18th. You can ask law enforcement about this. And they also cannot claim that they think I'm a drug addict or have any chances of being so, even though I've never bought drugs, but from anyone, street drugs ever in my life. Never overdosed on drugs. I ended up being forced to go to the emergency room. I haven't even gotten control medications in the past 10 years of my life, any kind of control medications. So yeah, and so they're obviously not going to try to even claim this, since they're running after me. My dad, the greedy framer, would show two different faces, claiming on one side that he doesn't think there's any monetary potential, while at the same time he's jeopardizing his chances of narrating in the trial where he's already been kicked out by is already sending me blackmail price tags for millions of euros. You also have Fur, the greedy framer, who cannot claim this because she's not advertising one daughter to me, she's advertising two daughters to me, both Zara and Ifra. And then, except for those two, Ibrahim, the greedy framer, cannot claim that he thinks that I'm either a drug addict or that my brain savant doesn't have any monetary potential, since just yesterday, July 18th, Ibrahim, the greedy framer spokesperson, had asked law enforcement to advertise his own sister to me. So these people in the U.S. and my dad, the greedy framer, cannot claim this. So the people that the law enforcement are going to try to use to claim that I'm a drug addict or that I'm sexually perverted, to try to get revenge on me for finding out the kind of people that law enforcement are basically from my overseas pharmacy school, like people like Adam G and Maruk. They cannot use Abdullah, since Abdullah has already been used, and he's been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of basically the group chat false testimony that created mass panic and chaos against me, only to be found out as completely fabricated. Yeah, so the things that I have to let everyone know about is the fact that if I was a drug addict, there would be more than one conversation throughout my entire life, since I've been watched since I was an 11-year-old child, more than one conversation of me ever joking around with someone about doing drugs. Drug addicts would have multiple instances of them buying drugs from someone, like street drugs from someone. There isn't one instance of me, whether I was near my overseas pharmacy school or over here, of ever, not one instance of me ever buying street drugs ever in my entire life. except for that, Adamji has basically led them into a ditch. He told law enforcement, I guess he was really convincing. He told them that he didn't think I was smart and that my brain savant didn't exist and it didn't have any monetary potential. The reason he did this was due to extreme envy. He spends all day and night long calling these girls over here and trying to convince them that he's really rich, and that he works on 50 million hospitals and this and that, blah, 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 only for the girl to find out at the end of the day that she might get minimum wage, but Adamji makes even less than her, which is true. Adamji makes even less than a girl working over here in minimum wage. It's an absolute fact. So basically, even after doing all that convincing, it's of no good for him. So now he gets extremely envious of me. And after making all these claims that I'm a drug addict, despite me not once ever buying street drugs from anyone. And I think if I was a drug addict, there would be more than one instance of me joking around with someone over text or something about doing drugs. And he would also make comments about me being sexually perverted, despite there being absolutely no evidence of me being sexually perverted in any way, shape, or form, only doing this to try to make me look bad. And we know this for a fact because Adamji and Maruk were basically fabricating these lies and false testimonies against me on July 11th, only 8 days ago, where they were caught with the person in law enforcement who gets the money every single month. So yes, those were absolute lies. And Adamji basically led them into a ditch by telling law enforcement that my brain savant didn't exist and that they were wasting their time, and everyone was wasting their time. So what law enforcement ended up doing was they were saying, you can guarantee us that it doesn't exist. And Adamji was like, yeah, I can guarantee it. Adamji was only saying this out of extreme envy because he spends all day and night long trying to convince girls over here that he's really rich and this and that, and that he has a lot of money, working in 4 million hospitals and this and that, when in fact, at the end of the day, the girl finds out that she might make minimum wage, but he actually makes even less than her. So yeah, basically, yeah. And then so he would get extremely envious, and out of his extreme envy, he would tell law enforcement, look, this brain savant doesn't exist. It's all in your head. It's a hype. It doesn't exist. And obviously law enforcement does not want to analyze brain savant, because if they analyze it and the results come out differently, then that's terrible for law enforcement. You got to remember, the reason they can't do a 30-minute test is due to the fact that they'll lose power over these girls that they're running these scams on. So if law enforcement overanalyzes a brain savant test and it ends up showing at the end of the day that I have more powers and that my powers are exactly like how I claim they are, then what ends up happening is law enforcement ends up losing power over these girls. And Adamji, being extremely envious of the fact that he can't convince these girls that he's really rich, and the girl at the end of the day finds out that she might be earning minimum wage, but he's actually earning less than her, in his extreme envy, tells people in law enforcement, yes, I'm telling you the truth. You have to analyze this brain savant test. And law enforcement's like, you're telling us that it's going to come out this way, because if it doesn't, we're screwed over. You know that. And Adamji's like, 100% guaranteed. You have to overanalyze the brain savant test. So law enforcement, what they end up doing is they go in and they had the brain savant test from June 24th, 2026, literally almost just a month ago, since today's July 19th. And law enforcement overanalyzes that brain savant test, only to find out that I was telling the exact truth and not anything that I said was a lie. And as soon as that results of overanalyzing that brain savant test comes out, law enforcement's just like, Adamji, you dragged us into a ditch. You idiot, you moron. Mainly because you gotta remember, law enforcement doesn't want to overanalyze these brain savant tests. In fact, that's the reason they don't want to do a 30-minute brain savant test, is because if they do a 30-minute brain savant test, they lose power over these girls. So Adamji, being extremely envious of the fact that he couldn't convince these girls that he was getting paid a lot of money working at 5 million hospitals or blah, 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 this and that, and at the end of the day, the girl would just look on Google 21st century, and she would find out that he actually gets paid less than her and she's earning minimum wage. Well, he's not going to be able to show off much, is he? So basically, yeah, Adam G tells law enforcement, he's like, I'm guaranteeing you, you have to overanalyze that test. Do it now. And law enforcement's just like, Adam G, if you're wrong on this, it's gonna mess up everything. Adam G is like, no, I'm guaranteeing you, it doesn't exist. Go analyze it right now. And law enforcement basically goes, they go over and they analyze the June 24th, 2026 brain savant test, literally almost a month ago, and they find out that every single thing that I said was true, and that artificial intelligence basically tells them that I do have the capabilities of doing something extremely dry like Aaron Ball's medicinal chemistry in less than a day's time. And with the previous test of the innovation being tested a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025 last year, it's no secret that if I'm doing 1,000 pages of some textbook like Aaron Ball's medicinal chemistry in a day, and I already have innovation as a brain savant along with focusing, which gives me literally robot-like powers, and I could do it all day, night long, like how I did for 4 years from October 2019 till July 1st, 2023, then yes, I will definitely get zero tolerance coffee done in 30 days time, since not only is that 30,000 pages, but it also means that I have innovation as a superpower as well, along with focusing. And so Adam G basically led them into a ditch due to his extreme envy. And law enforcement lost badly because now they were already losing power over these girls, and now the girls do not want to listen to them at all. The things that you have to understand is the fact that Adam G might claim that I'm this and that and blah, 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 all these things about himself, like I could do this, nothing supported by facts and evidence. It's not like you have artificial intelligence scanning his brain and testifying in court for people, and artificial intelligence is not going to lie for someone that this guy is extraordinary or anything like that, like how artificial intelligence is saying about me, which cannot be a lie due to the fact that if I'm saying what artificial intelligence is saying without anyone telling me what the artificial intelligence report says, then I would have to be psychic in order to guess what artificial intelligence is saying about me in court, unless if I was telling the truth. And obviously I'm telling the truth. The thing about Adam G is Adam G got his PharmD degree like everyone else in October 2017 after 2 sets of exams were given in January and summertime, which I would have gotten if my mother had not lost her job in Food Lion, due to which she lost her job at Food Lion grocery store, due to which I went hungry for like 3 days, and I asked my stepmother for food, and my stepmother was just like, your mother lost your job, that's not my problem, you're not sharing any food with us, due to which I somehow just came back home. And so yeah, and then I had to go back and I had to give my exams, but I would have, despite the problems that I had in life, it would have only taken me 2 sets of exams to get my degree. The only reason I even gave the 3rd set of exams was due to the fact that that I hadn't gotten my tabulation done, and I didn't know that my GPA was already met with the requirement. So you have to look at the fact that Adam G would have gotten his degree at the same time I would have gotten it after giving my 2 sets of exams. He might claim that he might have a higher GPA than me, but I mean, that's irrelevant. You know, it's not like the board exam people are going to look at that. But you also have to look at the fact that my brain savant was locked up the entire time. Law enforcement confessed to that in court. Not only that, in the last biochem exam, law enforcement used severe amnesia drugs on me, make sure that I couldn't even remember how to spell my name, much less be able to remember anything for the exam. For the last biochem exam, and they also confessed that they did this in numerous other exams while I was in pharmacy school without me ever even knowing about it. I didn't even know I had a brain savant until August 9, 2022, years after I received my degree in October 2019, and except for that, I went through abuses by my stepmother. Like, she would add acid to my clothes because of which my body would burn. She would starve me and not give me any food, due to which I would get the same food as the serfs would, and she would be like, are we animals? We're not animals, we're eating what you're eating, when in fact that wasn't true. She would just give me the food that was left over for like the serfs, people that literally live in huts and they work at people's houses for like $20 a month. And yeah, she'd give me that food, and then except for that, they're not maids, they're serfs. It's totally different system. Due to poverty in third world countries, people would work at other people's houses for like $20 a month. It's very sad, but yeah. And then my stepmother would puncture holes in my clothes so that the holes would spread, and I would end up quitting school. And except for that, she would also do things like not let my clothes go through the laundry, due to which I developed the ringworm infection. Yeah, and with these things, and law enforcement using severe amnesia drugs on me while I was studying and while I was in the exam room, and law enforcement locking up my brain savant so I wouldn't even know about it till August 9, 2022, years after I received my degree in October 2019, which was literally a miracle. I think that just the fact that my GPA might be lower than his is not that big of a deal, considering the fact that I did get all 108 exams done, and by even sleeping on the side of the streets to get my overseas PharmD degree done in October 2019, coming back home, getting that degree back to my mother, which literally only requires a simple English exam to sign up for my board exams, which I even passed in Saudi Arabia when I was there while being tortured, and they just don't let me sign up for my board exams. They use severe mental torture drugs on me, so I can't even sign up for my board exams. Even after I give my board exams, I'm just going to put my degree aside anyways, and I'm going to use my powers to get my things done, like zero tolerance coffee in 1 month's time, and then to keep doing it every single month, making more and more. If I have these superpowers no other human has on this planet, obviously I'm going to use that to make as much money as possible. But yeah, that's the honest truth. So in comparison, even being a normal human being, when they had my brain savant locked up, despite them using severe amnesia drugs on me, and despite all the problems I was going through with my stepmother, I was still doing better than Adamji, considering the fact that I would have gotten my degree when he did in October 2017, after giving 2 sets of exams, which only required me 2 sets of exams I got the required GPA met with all 108 exams passed. It only got delayed because of the fact that I had to go back home because of my mother losing her job at the Food Line grocery store. But yeah, having a little higher GPA doesn't mean anything, considering the fact that my brain was locked up. My brain savant was locked up, and they were using severe amnesia drugs on me, not only in the exam rooms, but also when I was trying to study. And they were also I also had to go through abuses by my stepmother, where she wouldn't give me any food. She would puncture holes in my clothes, not let it go through the laundry, due to which I developed ringworm infection, add acid to my clothes, due to which my body would burn out in the heat. So yeah, so there's absolutely no comparison. Even when I was a normal human being and my brain savant was locked up, even then there was no comparison, due to the fact that I would have gotten my degree at the same time he did, after 2 sets of exams in October 2019, and having a little higher GPA, despite the problems that I had, that he can't even imagine, having his brain savant locked up, or brain locked up, or amnesia drugs being used in exam rooms, and even when trying to study. There's no comparison, especially considering the abuses I had to go through with my stepmother.